Hey everyone, I'm back on my iPhone today because my tripod is packed up in my stuff because I am heading out to college very soon when I'm filming this. So it's gonna be the last video in this sort of environment. I'm sorry, I know. But I will have a really cool new filming setup hopefully when I get back. So be sure to stay tuned. I'm also sorry about my hair. It's like kind of uneven, but whatever. So anyways, today I'm going to be talking about something I touched on in my last video, and that is the origins of Strega Fashion. So, you probably heard me talk a little bit about dark mori and mori, but we're going to go a little bit more in depth this week. So basically, starting off, the creator of Strega Fashion was a Tumblr user whose Tumblr used to be Shortcut to the Stars, but is now My Magi, M-A-I dash M-A-G-I at tumblr.com. And she really was a very kind of internet famous, I guess, or very popular blogger in the dark mori and mori tags. So I'm gonna be kind of again speaking about those as well. And she one day I was like, you know, casually on Tumblr as you do, and looking through the tags, and it was like, oh cool, this is a really cool new fashion. I'm really into this and was very interested in starting to dress that way, and then all of a sudden was like, Strega Fashion, what is this? And like clicked on it, and she had this whole manifest which is basically explaining the rules and all of that. And so she was basically, from what I can tell, kind of fed up with having to dress a certain way and not being considered mori or dark mori or having to adhere to a lot of rules. So that's where Strega Fashion was born. I also think it really evolved from the DIY culture, because there's a lot of places, like if you, like similar to Lolita, like if you don't buy something necessarily from a certain store or whatever, it's kind of iffy if it is Lolita. I'm not really into the whole Lolita culture. I was kind of interested in it in high school, but never really got into it, mainly just because like a lot of stuff was expensive and I didn't want to dress like that if I, you know, if I didn't like particularly like it 100% of the time, which I didn't sometimes like to wear pants. The base culture, like before, like predating even dark mori, is mori K, and that's spelled M-O-R-I-K-E-I. It was created by a woman in Japan named, now I'm probably gonna get this wrong, so I'm gonna say this two ways. It's either Choco, which is probably not correct, or Shoko, which sounds a little bit better, sounds a little bit more realistic, and she created this whole idea based on the aesthetic of a girl living in a cottage in the forest, and how you would dress. And it, again, there was like 62 rules. I'll be getting into that next month basically, and kind of talking about mori K, just to give you guys sort of a like intro and some information. But that whole style really was similar to natural K and focused on the colors like creams, beige, browns, some navies, some burgundies, but a lot of natural colors. And a lot of things would be found on the Taobao site, which I believe is a site from China. I am not 100% sure. So like, but that's where a lot of this clothing is manufactured. My hair is bothering me. Anyway. So, branching off of that, there was kind of course, like any alternative gothic crowd, we will take something and turn it into something beautiful and dark and wonderful. So a Tumblr user under the name Shady Oaks, whose blog I will link somewhere in the show notes or whatever, in the video notes, she kind of was the first person I saw personally on Tumblr, because I did see a lot of the mori stuff first and was like, this is magical and amazing. But you know, white and cream's not really my thing. And then I saw dark mori and was like, sign me up. I am ready to sell my soul. Like, do you need my firstborn child so I can look this cool? But anyways, she kind of defined dark mori. So at the time it was called Black Forest mori, similar to like the Black Forest, I believe, in Germany, but I was really bad at geography, so it's probably not there. I have no idea. And that's kind of where I first saw it, and then I started seeing it being called dark mori, which kind of is the nomer that caught on really quick, though I have seen both tags being used, and I've used both tags myself. It's sort of the inverse of mori, so whereas mori girls wear white and cream and beige, dark mori girls focus more on like black, dark blue, really like blood reds, grays, stuff like that. So immediately I was like, oh, a lot of my clothes already kind of jive with this, and I was already doing a lot of the layering stuff without even knowing about the fashion, which is kind of cool. It's just kind of me finding this community that I really felt like I belonged with, because I never really felt part of like the punks, or really part of like the trad goths or the cyber goths or like Lolita or anything like that. I was always kind of like, I'm gonna do what I want, and I'm still definitely that way. I'm not a huge fan of like labeling what I dress like, other than Strega Fashion, just because it's so inclusive. So yeah, by finding Dark Mori, I was really able to find a community that worked for me. But then I started seeing like, oh well, you know, I'm not sure that wearing jeans today, or like wearing dark pants and like a long flowy shirt is really Dark Mori, because it has to be so structured. There has to be a certain layering style that was originally set up by Xoxo, which is how I'm going to say her name, because I highly doubt that she would like me to call her Chaco. So I found that silhouette was a little constricting for me personally and creatively. So I also found, on the other side, I did find that the Dark Mori community was a lot more interested in DIY and stuff like that. So that's also what drew me in, I guess. So about 2 or 3 months into me kind of figuring out and like finding the Dark Mori community, I saw a post from then Shortcut to the Stars, now My Magi, and it was the Strega Fashion manifesto thing, and I immediately was like, yes, this is even better, because there are literally no rules and I can essentially do what I want. And the whole point of me dressing like Dark Mori is because I wanted to kind of just embody the witch aesthetic. And yes, I understand that not all witches dress like this, and it might be seen as a stereotype. However, there is an undeniable aesthetic that you think of when you think of a witch, a witchy woman, like a magical, like wise woman kind of thing, and that is definitely heavy on the side of mystery, in my opinion. And I feel like by using that idea and taking it, and like even in, if you watched American Horror Story Coven, which of course is my favorite season, however, if you kind of take that aesthetic and then mix it with like your own personal DIY and like your own aesthetics, I find like that's really some of the roots of not only Dark Mori and Strega, but like witchy fashion overall. I feel like that show really helped push it into the kind of the forefront of fashion, personally. So anyways, the big thing that I found with Strega Fashion versus the Dark Mori is not only the lack of rules, but the fact that it's more gender neutral. I just noticed that there weren't really too many Dark Mori boys. Obviously there were some really amazing people who were dressing in a more gender neutral style, but as soon as Strega Fashion hit, I found that there was definitely a lot more non-binary, agender, you know, and as well as male and more like androgynous people coming into the fashion, being able to create and kind of just be themselves instead of having to be like, well, I'm a Dark Mori boy, hello, you know. Like, I feel like that tag is a little bit more dead on, like, not as active on Tumblr. I don't know, I haven't checked it in a while. So it's still very layering heavy for sure. Strega Fashion, it has not lost that component of it, but it is a little bit less like rigid in terms of structuring, so you don't have to have like a tunic and then an overskirt and an underskirt and a petticoat and boots and leggings and a cardigan and like all this stuff, because we have to admit that it gets really hot, and wearing 20 different scarves during the middle of summer, as cool as it would be, because I wish I could live in a place where I could wear that all the time, it gets hot. And like where I live, it gets, you know, 115 degrees sometimes with humidity, so that sucks. But yeah, other than that, the biggest thing that drew me to Strega, and like I think sets it really apart from Dark Mori and Mori, is the use of occult materials. There's definitely a lot of like pentagrams and like this Baphomet and all sorts of different occult sort of motifs, basically, that are used, as well as a little bit, like honestly a little bit into like the BDSM, kind of like the very watered down version of the BDSM community, with like all the harnesses and the chokers and like the big O-rings and stuff, which I love. I appreciate that aesthetic immensely and have a lot of respect for the BDSM community in terms of their effect on fashion. But for sure, that is definitely not something I see as much in the Mori community. I find that more like the fairy tale, whereas the Strega girls are a little bit more modernized. And I feel like that's the main difference. Sometimes I find, and this is no shade or nothing contradictory or anything just like mean, I don't know, like nothing condescending to the dark mori community. I just find that Strega Fashion is something I can wear more and more day to day without feeling like I'm wearing a costume. And that's just me personally. Obviously, if you dress dark mori and you're like, this is like my normal clothes, it's totally fine. I just find it sometimes I can like personally get a little bit too costumey and like feel like I should, my profession instead of being a college student is me like picking mushrooms and like gathering acorns and tending goats, which I would love to do. However, we live in a society that dictates I gotta get an education. Anyways, so this is kind of like wrapping up. Those are the origins, really, from mori to dark mori to Strega. There was a lot of controversy in the beginning of the tag because the word Strega is similar to the word Stregarea, or Stregarea. I'm not 100% sure how to say that, and I'm sure that's going to offend somebody, but how you say it in Italian. And that's the word for Italian witchcraft. If you are not comfortable using these terms, feel free to use like any term you want. Anyways, if you don't feel like using Strega, you can definitely use the tag witchwear or dark mori, and you'll definitely see, like if you're tagging stuff on Tumblr or whatever, you'll definitely have like the same sort of community because a lot of people use the same tags. So anyways, I know this was really long. I hope it was a little bit more organized than last time because I feel like last time I definitely rambled and then like also talked about the stuff I was going to talk about in this video, which is like, oh my god. So anyways, y'all are fabulous. I love you very much. I would love to hear your opinions. Do you guys have any other, if you guys have any other sort of things that you feel affected the Strega community other than like dark mori and like even goth really kind of definitely has its claws sunken into this. Yeah, just let me know. Comment below. Alright, I'll see you guys later. Bye!